Welcome to the Sales Influence Podcast, where we talk about finding the why and how people buy. I'm your host, Victor Antonio. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for lending me your ears. Today's topic is keeping it real. Yeah, let's keep it real. I'm going to give you a formula for keeping it real, especially when you're connecting face-to-face or via video. How do you keep it real? Well, I'm going to use the word real as the acronym and share with you 4 key elements that you're going to use to make sure you connect and engage with people. Again, whether it's virtual or face-to-face, this is how you do it. This is how you keep it real. First, the R in the word real stands for rapport. I know what you're thinking. That's pretty basic, Victor. But wait a minute. A lot of people have a hard time building rapport. I always say that rapport begins with you being comfortable with who you are. That's the toughest thing to do, is be comfortable with who you are. Because once you're comfortable, you're communicating that in your tone, in who you are, your body language, your posture, your facial expressions. When you're in line with who you are, in sync with who you are, you're able to connect easier. But how do you build that rapport? Once you're in line, how do you build rapport? First of all, I always look for common ground. And trust me, you can find common ground anywhere. You can start out with something basic. For example, what kind of food do you like? They're going to say, well, I kind of like spaghetti. I say, well, I like meatloaf. We can find some common ground. We finally probably wind up eating cheesecake. Yeah, we both like cheesecake. Boom, we got some rapport built. Again, you can ask about interests, even if the interests are not the same as yours. For example, you can say your interest is baseball. And I can say, my interest is chess, which I don't play. But let's just say that I go with that example. Now, you may think there's not any alignment there, but there is. Both games require strategy. So you can talk about maybe some comparisons there about strategy. Look for something that ties it in. How about belief systems, right? Sometimes people have a strong belief about something, and that's what I typically like to explore, especially, this is going to sound unusual, when somebody has a different belief system than mine. I find that a fascinating conversation to be had, because what we want to do as we go through life is learn from other people. Now, when I listen to other people tell me what their belief system is, I don't listen to judge and question. I listen to learn. Big difference. And sometimes you'll be amazed that if you just listen, quiet listen, and really try to understand where they're coming from, even if you don't agree with them, you'll gain a new perspective and understand them better. So again, look for common ground, find some common interests, and let's listen to belief systems, right? Try to understand. And again, you'll be amazed how many times you find people with your belief systems, and that's even easier, right? Because when people believe what you believe, man, you just link up, sync up real quick. Now, E, this one's important. Empathy. Empathy, not sympathy. You've heard me talk about this in the past. Sympathy is one thing, but empathy is feeling their pain, putting yourself in their position. Now, this is really interesting because I think, to me, the crux of selling, the crux of connecting with anyone is really empathy. If I can take the time to understand where you're coming from, your headspace, live a day in your shoes mentally, right? If I can truly understand that, then my conversation will change dramatically because I get you. Let me say this again. This is too important just to kind of gloss over too quickly. If I really take the time to understand my client, see the client, be the client, right? And let's say I try to imagine a day in the life of, for example, a chief technical officer. Just kind of play the mental game by yourself first. And let's go through it. Chief technical officer. These are people who are worried about the technology of a company. They have to worry about operability. Is it integratable? Is it expandable? So forth and so on. Every able word you can throw in there, right? And they probably got a lot of vendors calling on them, trying to sell them different platforms. And they're also under a lot of pressure to become more efficient, reduce costs, especially operating costs, right? And they don't like to switch over because, making changes to a system that's already working, it's already in place. They don't want to do that. Get the idea? All that. That's their headspace. And if you can understand that headspace, when you present your product or your solution or your service, understanding their headspace is going to allow you to give it that top spin, that little English, as I say, to kind of spin it so it's more acceptable and not rejectable. Third, a close cousin of empathy is authenticity. There's the A in real. You got to be authentic. I just can't emphasize this enough. Until you get comfortable with who you are, you talk the way you normally talk. You don't try to talk above your pay grade. You don't try to sound like everybody else. You don't try to just, be somebody's friend, build a relationship right there and then. No, you need to be authentic. You got to be professional, but you also have to be authentic. I always tell people to be authentic. They think, you mean, Victor, let them know who I really am? No, I'm saying be a professional. Be a professional and express who you are in a professional manner. So I got to be careful how I say that. People say, does that mean I can just, cuss whenever I want? No, you can't do that. You got to be professional. So you got to always maintain who you are in a professional sense. But people want that. In fact, I truly believe that people are craving for authenticity. So let people see you for who you are and communicate directly. If I were to ask you, what type of conversations do you want to have with a salesperson? You're going to say, Victor, I want a direct conversation, honest. I want them to keep it real. Well, guess what your customers want from you? The exact same thing. So do that. Number 4, in the real, the L is likability. You got to be likable. You got to be likable. One of the best ways to be likable is obviously to smile. That's too easy. But how about this? Ask a lot of questions. Be genuinely interested in what the person is saying. Active listening, where you're not listening just to answer, you're listening to really understand. Be curious. Oh, I love that word. Be curious. Well, how do you do that? Well, tell me more about that. Really? I didn't know you could do that. Well, how long did it take you to do that? How long did you study that? Wow, what was the downside? What did you find? What was impactful about that? This is where true learning happens. Likability and curiosity, right there, when you listen to people, when you're having a conversation with people and you're really listening, you're really digging for more because you're genuinely curious. Emphasize the word genuinely curious. People connect with you. You ever have one of those great conversations? It's a great conversation. You ever talk to somebody for an hour and that hour just flew by, right? And if we were to go back and look at the conversation, the reason it flew by is because you were doing most of the talking and they were doing most of the listening. That's why you love the conversation. People love to be listened to, but really listened to, not passive listening, really active listening where you're asking questions, digging deeper. People buy, from people they like. People share with people they like, right? And also people give to people they like. So being likable is important. So those are the 4 elements. If you can build rapport, find common ground. Again, understand interests, find out what they do, understand their belief system. 2, empathy. Man, put yourself in their position, feel their pain. Authenticity. Be you, be open, be honest, be professional. Last but not least, be likable. Likability is going to get you very, very far. And that is it for this Sales Influence Podcast. Don't forget to leave me some feedback on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, or wherever you find me. Let me know what you think. I always appreciate your feedback. Also, if you haven't checked out my online sales training platform, the Sales Velocity Academy, why not? Over 50 courses, 500 videos. The programs are growing. My books are there as well. So if you really want to increase your sales velocity, go to salesvelocityacademy.com. Lastly, I want to thank you for listening. This is Victor Antonio, always reminding you, selling ain't hard when you know how. Take care.
Hi, I'm Victor Antonio. I'm an author, sales trainer, and keynote speaker. I'm often asked, what makes a great speaker? Is it someone who delivers real content that the audience can use? Is it someone who engages the audience so they're part of the learning experience? Or is it someone who can motivate an audience to push them beyond their comfort zone and discover new abilities? The answer is yes. But the most important thing to remember is that I'm not there to look good. I'm there to make my client look good. Simply put, it's never about me, and it's always about them.